We use many abbreviations, initialisms, and acronyms in English. Let's see if you know what these are. Read along with me. Have you noticed how often you see abbreviations in written English? You are certainly familiar with many, such as MR period, Mr., and MRS period, mistress, but we pronounce it Mrs. APT period is apartment. TEL period is telephone. We use abbreviated terms to refer to our units of measurements. For example, LB period is pound, OZ period is ounce, QT period is quart, MI period, mile, and FT period, foot. It is very important to know that TSP period is a teaspoon and TBSP period is a tablespoon when you're trying a new cake recipe or your cake may not taste so good. Abbreviations are also used for locations as on street signs and in our addresses such as ST for street, RD for road, DR for drive, and LN for lane. We also use many initialisms, which are phrases that we abbreviate by using only the first letter of each word, and we pronounce the letters individually. For example, the ALP, Adult Literacy Program, offers ESL, English as a Second Language classes, and GED, General Equivalency Diploma classes. Another example of initialism is FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, of course. All 50 states have initialisms. It's a shortened form written in capital letters, such as PA, DE, NY, and MD. Can you name those states? They are Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York, and Maryland, of course. Here are two very common initialisms, BYOB and RSVP. You might see the first one posted on the front door of a restaurant or in its advertisements. BYOB means that you must bring your own bottle if you'd like to drink wine with your meal, as the restaurant does not sell alcohol. You might receive an invitation which has RSVP at the bottom of it. This is French for Répondez s'il vous plaît, and it means that a response is expected from you, whether you will attend or whether you are unable to attend. Sometimes the phrase regrets only is added after the RSVP, and then you're only required to answer if you cannot attend. So you might say, I regret that I'm not able to attend. With the popularity of social media, we use many initialisms in our texting. Perhaps you know these and use them regularly. IDK? I don't know. IMO? In my opinion. Sometimes IHMO, in my humble opinion. And TY, thank you. Different from an initialism, an acronym is when a new word is formed from the first letters of a name or phrase. For example, NATO. Unlike an initialism, we pronounce these four letters as a new word. We say NATO, not NATO. We say NATO. In English, the letters N, A, T, and O stand for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Did you know that radar, which stands for radio detection and ranging, and laser, which stands for light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation, are also acronyms? Here below are some common abbreviations, initialisms, and acronyms. Can you ID them? Can you identify them? You'll notice that in the abbreviations column, I have some that have a period after them and some that do not. Usually we don't put a period after CC. We do after BLVD when we are writing it as part of an address. It is a location term. Usually KM and CM do not have a period after them. PP often does have a period, sometimes maybe not. And WT usually does have a period after it. You'll just have to see which do and which don't. The initialisms, of course, we pronounce these letters separately. So we say CEO, DOB, OT, AKA, EST, and FYI. And the acronyms, of course, we pronounce as a new word. These are letters, first letters of words that make up this new word. So we say ASAP, Once in a while, you'll hear someone say ASAP also, but usually ASAP, NASA, SWAT, YOLO, FAC, and GIF. So did you figure out what they are? Let's see. In abbreviations, CC, of course, means copy. You'll see this if you use email. And you can CC or you can BCC, blind CC, meaning that the person you're sending it to will see it, but no one else on the distribution list will see it. BLVD stands for boulevard, so it's a location. KM is kilometer. CM is centimeter. PP stands for pages, and WT is weight. The initialisms. CEO is Chief Executive Officer of a company, for example. DOB is date of birth. OT is overtime. If you do overtime at work, you will be paid extra money. It means you go beyond your work day. If you work from 8 to 4:30 and this day you are staying until 6:30, you are being paid 2 hours of overtime because you did 2 extra hours. AKA means also known as. Sometimes this is used if you have a different name or if you have a nickname. For example, perhaps your name is Mary Elizabeth and people call you Mel or Liz. Then you can say, her name is Mary Elizabeth, AKA Mel or AKA Liz. EST stands for Eastern Standard Time, and it is the time on most of the East Coast. We'll talk about that in a minute. FYI means for your information. And then the acronyms we pronounce as a word. So we say ASAP, which means as soon as possible. NASA is the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. SWAT is a Special Weapons and Tactics Team. YOLO means you only live once. FAQ is frequently asked questions. And GIF is a graphics interchange format. Okay, so EST. These are time zones for the United States. The United States is huge. And so depending on where you live, the time might be different. If we're going from west, beginning in California, to east, we'll go to Pennsylvania. Here are examples of the time zones. Believe it or not, there are 13 states that have more than one time zone in them. So maybe if it is 9 o'clock in one part of the state, it's actually 8 o'clock in another part of the state because they have 2 different time zones. Perhaps Eastern Standard Time and Central Standard Time, or Central and Mountain is normally the case. So let's take a look at this. So in California, if it is 8:15 a.m., that's Pacific Standard Time, PST. In Wyoming, it is 9:15, that's Mountain Standard Time, MST. In Iowa, it is 10:15, they're 2 hours ahead, so that's Central Standard Time, CST. And in Pennsylvania, the East Coast is 3 hours difference from the West Coast, 3 hours ahead. So in Pennsylvania, it is Eastern Standard Time, EST, and it's 11:15 a.m. when it's 8:15 in California. Now, the states of Alaska and Hawaii have their own time zones. So here's the time in Alaska and Hawaii when it is 8:15 a.m. in California. In Alaska, it is 4:15 a.m., so 4 hours difference. And it's referred to as AKST, Alaska Standard Time. And in Honolulu, at 8:15 a.m. in California and Honolulu, they are 5 hours off. So it's 3:15 a.m. and it's referred to as Hawaii Standard Time. As we said, the United States is a huge country, different time zones. So when you travel from the East Coast to the West Coast, you pick up 3 hours. When you come back, you lose 3 hours.